I never thought I'd be writing something like this on a platform like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I've just gone through the kind of betrayal that screws with your head so badly you start questioning everything. I was with Lisa for a little over 3 years. We got engaged last year, and I honestly thought everything was perfect. She was smart, funny, a little bitchy sometimes, but that's what I liked about her. She kept me on my toes. We had plans, big plans, buy a house, start a family, the whole 9 yards. I was all in, or so I thought. Looking back, though, there were signs. Small ones, really minor at first. She'd be secretive about her phone, quick to dismiss questions about who she was texting, saying it was just her friends. She'd stay late at work sometimes, but she'd always make a joke out of it like, "Oh, just some office stuff, relax." I didn't think much of it because she's always been a little dramatic, a little bitchy, and I figured she just wanted to keep her independence. Besides, she'd always come home happy, and we'd laugh about her big boss or whoever it was she was chatting with. But then little things started to change. She'd be more defensive when I'd try to look at her phone, even if I wasn't trying to snoop. She'd brush past me, quick to change the subject. One day, I caught her deleting messages, and I remember feeling this weird, gnawing feeling deep in my stomach. I told myself I was overthinking, that maybe she was just trying to keep her privacy. But I couldn't shake it. I mean, I've been with enough women to know when something's off, and Lisa, she was acting different. Then 2 weeks ago, I found a hotel receipt shoved in her purse when she wasn't looking. I saw the name of a fancy hotel downtown, one I knew she had no reason to be at. When I asked her about it, she snapped, called me paranoid, said I was reading too much into it. But I looked closer and found hotel receipts on her email, linked to conversations with someone named Mark. That name made my blood run cold. Mark is her boss. I knew it. I just knew. I looked through her messages, and yeah, they weren't just work talk. There were flirty texts, insinuations, references to meeting up, all behind my back. I saw hotel reservations messages saying, "Can't wait to see you tonight, and my wife doesn't know." That's when I realized she cheated on me right before our wedding. I couldn't believe it at first. How could she? We were about to get married and she's out sleeping with her boss. I mean, how stupid does she think I am? I guess I should have seen the signs, but you never want to believe it until you see hard proof. And here I am, staring at the evidence like some dumbass. The worst part, she kept lying, kept pretending everything was fine, acting like I was overreacting. She's a bitchy, manipulative woman who thinks she can get away with anything, and sadly, she almost did. But I found out, and now everything's in chaos. I don't even know where to start with the flood of feelings. Anger, mostly. Deep, searing anger. How she could betray me like that after everything. The trust I placed in her, the future I saw with her. It's like someone pressed a button and everything just shattered. Yet underneath the anger was sadness. Real, crushing sadness. Because deep down I still love her, or at least I used to. I keep asking myself whether I should confront her now or just walk away. Honestly, I don't even know what I want anymore. All I know is I can't trust her. Not after this. Not after seeing her lies laid bare. And that's where I am right now, lost, betrayed, and trying to figure out what the hell comes next. The moment I found the hotel receipts and the messages, everything changed. I didn't just feel betrayed. I felt like I'd been hit by a freight train. I remember standing there, clutching the paper in my hand, my mind racing in 1,000 directions. My stomach was tight, my fists clenched. I didn't want to believe it, but the evidence was clear. That bitch Lisa had been sneaking around with her boss, Mark, right before our wedding. That thought kept echoing in my head like some sick joke I'd never asked to be part of. I went straight to her phone. I needed to see more. I scrolled through the messages, and I swear, the more I read, the more I wanted to scream. She'd been lying through her teeth, telling me she was working late, saying she was just tired, that I was paranoid. Yeah, right. I saw the text where she called him babe, where they joked about spicing things up, and even one where she told him she'd be ready for him tonight. That was just last week. Last week, while I was planning our wedding, she was sneaking around with her boss, hiding it all from me. I remember feeling this burning rage that I couldn't shake. I wanted to confront her right then, but I knew I had to be strategic. I didn't want her to deny it or spin some bullshit story. I started planning my approach, trying to stay calm but feeling like I was about to explode. The betrayal wasn't just about the sex. It was about the lies, the deception, the way she'd betrayed everything we'd built together. It was a punch to the gut that I wasn't prepared for. I had trusted her more than anyone, and now I couldn't even look her in the eye without feeling sick. The next day, I waited until she got home from what she claimed was a long day at work. She walked in with that fake smile, acting like everything was normal. That's when I lost it. I told her I knew about Mark, about the hotel receipts, the messages. Her eyes widened for a second, then she snapped. "You're crazy," she spat, her voice sharp. "You don't have proof. You're just jealous. You're overthinking everything. Mark's just a friend. You're paranoid." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw right through her bullshit. She was trying to act innocent, but I knew better now. I knew she'd been lying, cheating, and probably doing it for a while. The way she dismissed me, the way she called me paranoid, she's always been good at turning things around, making me feel like I was the crazy one. But I had proof. And that made her furious. She started yelling, calling me possessive, accusing me of being insecure. That's when I realized she's a master manipulator. She's good at lying, at twisting things, at making herself look innocent. But I wasn't buying it anymore. After the confrontation, I felt empty, like all my trust had been drained out of me in a single moment. I couldn't believe she'd do this to me, not just once, but repeatedly behind my back. I kept asking myself, how long has she been cheating? Was it during our relationship or just right before our wedding? The thought of her sleeping with Mark right before she said "I do" made my stomach turn. I couldn't get the image out of my head. It made me wonder how many other lies she's told, how much of what she said was just a facade. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept going over everything, replaying her words, her actions, the messages I'd uncovered. The betrayal hit so hard it felt like my chest was caving in. I finally realized that I didn't just want to confront her. I wanted to make her pay. I wanted her to understand what it felt like to be lied to be betrayed so thoroughly, to lose the trust I thought we had. I knew I had to think carefully, but part of me just wanted to end it right then and there. To walk away, to make her feel the weight of her betrayal. I wasn't sure what that meant yet, but I knew one thing. My world was falling apart, and I was standing in the ruins, trying to figure out where to go from here. The days that followed were a blur of rage, confusion, and a sort of numbness I couldn't shake. I'd gone from feeling like I'd had the perfect life to realizing I'd been living a complete lie. Every memory I had with Lisa now felt tainted, like I was looking at everything through a filter of betrayal. I couldn't believe she'd been lying to my face, pretending to be the perfect wife when she was secretly screwing her boss. That realization burned in my mind like acid. The trust I once had, it was gone, completely erased. I started noticing little things I'd missed before, her phone always glued to her hand, her avoiding eye contact when I asked questions, her quick, defensive replies. It was like she was trying to hide something even more than I'd already uncovered. At first, I thought about confronting her again, maybe demanding answers, but then I realized that wouldn't get me anywhere. She'd just spin more lies, I was sure of. I needed a plan, a way to get real clarity, not just accusations flying around, so I started digging deeper. I looked at her emails, her social media, anything I could find. I wanted to know if there was more than just Mark. Was this just a one-time thing, or was she cheating on me with multiple people? I found more messages, more hotel receipts, some from other places, some just simple flirtatious exchanges. It was clear she'd been lying and cheating behind my back for a while. The worst part, she kept lying, kept denying, even when I had physical proof. I was furious, absolutely furious, at how she could be so manipulative, so callous. One night, I decided I had to catch her in the act. I set up hidden cameras around the apartment, not that I wanted to spy on her, but I needed to see with my own eyes what was happening when I wasn't around. That was a tough pill to swallow, being reduced to a voyeur, but I was desperate. I needed answers, and I wasn't going to get them just by asking. I waited anxiously, watching the footage when she finally came home late from her work meeting. And what I saw, God, it made my blood boil. She was sloppy, clearly trying to hide something at first, but then I saw her get into her car with Mark. I saw the way she leaned into him, the way they looked at each other with pure, unfiltered desire. They drove off and I instantly felt like my stomach had dropped to my ankles. That was it. I knew for sure. She'd been cheating on me right under my nose right before our wedding. All those late nights, all those just work excuses, lies. Everything was a lie. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. I sat there stunned, trying to process what I'd just seen. The woman I loved, the woman I was about to marry, was out screwing her boss. I was angry, heartbroken, and feeling like I'd been kicked in the gut. How could she do this? How could she lie to me like that? I wanted to scream, to cry, to do something, anything, to make her pay. But I knew I had to stay calm, at least for now. I needed to confront her, but I wanted to do it right, with all the evidence laid out on the table. I couldn't let her continue to deceive me, not anymore. That night I didn't sleep. I kept staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. The lies, the sneaking around, her fake smile when she'd come home pretending everything was fine. I felt like a fool for trusting her, for thinking she was different. I'd always believed in honesty, in loyalty, yet she'd proved me wrong. I kept asking myself what I did wrong, if I missed the signs, if I was just stupid for not seeing it sooner. But deep down I knew one thing: it wasn't about me. She chose to cheat. She chose to lie. And now I had to figure out what came next. The betrayal cut so deep I didn't know how to process it all. Part of me wanted to confront her again, to demand explanations, to see her squirm under the truth. But another part was exhausted, drained of hope, full of anger and sadness. I realized I couldn't keep living in this limbo. I had to make a choice, and fast, because if I stayed, I might lose what little self-respect I had left. I told myself I'd give her one last chance to come clean, then I'd decide whether to fight for this marriage or walk away for good. Either way, things wouldn't be the same anymore. Nothing would. The confrontation finally came sooner than I expected. I couldn't hold it in anymore. The anger had been boiling under the surface for days, and I knew I needed to face her, get it all out in the open. So I sat her down one evening, told her I had something to say, and I laid everything out. The hotel receipts, the messages, the secret recordings from my little spy mission. I watched her face change from that bitchy smirk she always wore to a look of pure panic. Her reaction was classic Lisa. She started denying everything, calling me paranoid, accusing me of stalking her and reading into things. She said she didn't know what I was talking about, that I was just jealous and insecure. She threw in all her usual lies like, "Mark's just a friend, and you don't understand how stressful work is, and my personal favorite, you're imagining things. I love you." I could see the sweat beading on her forehead, her eyes darting around like she was trying to find an escape route, and honestly, I was furious. I lost it then. I yelled so hard that my voice cracked. I told her how much she'd hurt me, how I'd trusted her, and how she'd thrown that trust in the trash. I said I knew she'd been lying all along, about Mark, about everything. Her excuses sounded so hollow, so pathetic. "It's not what you think," she kept saying. "You're overreacting. You don't understand how stressful my job is." Yeah, right. Just a coincidence that her boss was the one she was screwing behind my back. Just a coincidence that she'd been lying about everything. She tried to play the victim, saying how heartless I was, how I was ruining her life, but I wasn't having it anymore. I told her I couldn't stay with someone who lied to my face, who cheated on me, who made a fool of what we tried to build. I told her that I was done, that I couldn't pretend everything was okay when I had the proof in my hand. She looked at me with that bitchy glare, trying to manipulate her way out, but I wasn't falling for it. I wanted her gone, out of my life, and I wanted her to understand what she'd done. That night she stormed out after a long, bitter exchange. She kept calling me crazy, possessive, and jealous, even as she was packing her bags. I didn't stop her. Honestly, I didn't care. I just wanted her gone so I could breathe again. As she left, she threw some parting words. "You'll regret this," she spat. "Mark's not what you think." But I knew better now. I knew she'd been lying to me the whole time. The emotional fallout was intense. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach and then kicked while I was down. I was angry at her, devastated, confused, everything at once. I couldn't believe I married someone who was capable of such betrayal. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she pretend to be the loving wife and then go out and sleep with her boss? For days I was haunted by the images, her in that hotel room, her whispering in the dark, her fake smile when she'd come home pretending everything was fine. I kept asking myself if I'd missed the signs, if I'd somehow been naive or blind. But deep down, I knew this wasn't my fault. She made her choice. She chose Mark over me, over what we had. And honestly, I felt a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. Relief because I finally saw her for what she really was, and heartbreak because I'd loved her, or thought I did. Now, all that was left was trying to piece my life back together. I knew I had to focus on myself, figure out what I wanted long term, whether that was forgiveness or just walking away. I'd been betrayed so badly that I couldn't see any future with her anymore. No trust, no love, just pain. But I promised myself I'd come out the other side stronger. I had to. After she left, the apartment felt colder, emptier than ever. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the walls that once echoed with our laughter, now silent and full of memories I couldn't trust anymore. I kept replaying everything. The lies, the secret messages, that damn hotel receipt, and a part of me was trying to understand how. I got here. How did I go from planning a wedding to this? How did the woman I loved turn into someone so completely different? The betrayal hit so hard I felt like a shell of myself. I knew I had to make some decisions. I couldn't stay in this limbo, not knowing if I could ever trust her again. The thought of her sneaking around with Mark, of her lying to my face, made me furious. I kept asking myself whether to fight for the marriage or just cut her off completely. Honestly, I was leaning towards separation, cutting ties and trying to rebuild my life from scratch. But part of me still hoped that somehow I could get her to admit everything, face her guilt, and maybe, just maybe, find some closure. I didn't know what was right anymore. All I knew was that I couldn't keep pretending everything was normal when I'd uncovered her lies. That night, I started making a plan. I knew I needed to confront her again, but this time with everything laid bare. No more lies, no more games. I wanted her to see how much she'd hurt me, how deeply her betrayal cut. I also knew I had to prepare myself emotionally because I didn't want to fall apart in front of her. I wanted to be strong, to show her that I was done with the manipulation. So I gathered all the evidence I had, the messages, the receipts, the recordings. I wanted to make her understand that I wasn't just some fool who got played. I was a man who had loved her, trusted her, and been completely betrayed. The moment came the next day. I called her and told her I needed to talk. She showed up at my apartment with that cocky smirk, trying to act like she still had some power. But I didn't let her. I pulled out everything, showed her the screenshots, played the recordings, laid out the hotel receipts. Her face went pale and she started stammering, trying to deny everything again. But I had enough. I looked her in the eye and told her that I knew she'd been lying from the start, that I'd seen everything and I was done trusting her. She froze for a second, then started crying, but it was just crocodile tears, I could tell. I told her she had a choice: own up to what she'd done or walk out of my life forever. I wasn't going to be some fool anymore, listening to her lies. And she chose to lie some more, trying to twist the situation. That was the final straw. I told her I didn't want to see her anymore, that she'd broken whatever little bond we still had, and I was done. She looked at me with that bitchy glare, tears streaming down her face, and kept insisting she loved me, that she was sorry, that it was all a mistake. I just shook my head. I knew better now. She wasn't sorry, she was just sorry she got caught. That confrontation was brutal, but it felt like the moment I finally took control. I realized I was tired of being manipulated, tired of feeling like I had no say in my own life. I decided I was going to file for divorce. I didn't want her in my life anymore, not after what she did. I wanted to start fresh, rebuild from this wreckage, and move on. It was the only way I could see to heal, cutting out the poison, moving forward without her lies dragging me down. Now I'm in that phase where I'm trying to piece everything together. The betrayal changed me. I don't trust easily anymore, and I question everything about my past with her. But I also know I'm stronger than I thought. I learned that sometimes love isn't enough to fix a broken relationship, especially when lies and betrayal have taken root. If there's one thing I want to tell anyone reading this, it's this: don't ignore the signs. Trust your instincts. Because once someone crosses that line, it's damn hard to come back. And when they do, you have to decide whether to forgive or walk away. For me, walking away was the only choice left. Now, a few weeks have passed since I kicked her out and filed for divorce. Honestly, it's been a rough ride, but I feel like I'm finally starting to breathe again. The house feels emptier, but somehow it's also a little lighter. I've had time to reflect on everything, and the truth is, I'm glad I saw her for what she really was before I committed my entire life to her. That betrayal cut so deep that I honestly don't think I would have ever trusted her again, not fully. Maybe part of me still loved her, but love isn't enough when the foundation is built on lies. Looking back, I realize I should have trusted my instincts from the start. The small signs, the secretive behavior, the quick dismissals, they all pointed to something wrong. But I was blinded by hope, by the idea of a future together. Now I see clearly. If someone is willing to lie and cheat behind your back, no matter how much you love them, they don't deserve your trust. That's the biggest lesson I've learned. Never ignore the warning signs, and when someone shows you who they really are, believe them. I've started focusing on myself, going back to work, reconnecting with friends I'd neglected, and trying to rebuild my confidence. It's not easy, and I still have moments where I feel angry or sad, but I remind myself that I deserve better. I deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect, things Lisa took away from me without a second thought. I don't regret uncovering the truth, even if it hurt like hell, because now I know what kind of person she really is, and I'm free from the illusion I had been living in. To anyone reading this who's been through something similar, I want you to know you're not alone. Trust your gut. If you sense something's off, don't dismiss it, confront it. Because the longer you ignore the signs, the deeper the pain when everything comes crashing down. And when it does, remember that you don't have to settle for someone who doesn't value you. Standing up for yourself, accepting the truth, no matter how ugly, is the first step toward healing. It's a hard journey, but I promise it's worth it. For me, moving on is about reclaiming my life, my happiness, and my dignity. And I'll never let anyone take that away from me again.